You're listening to the Communications Business Advisor podcast, the podcast for communications professionals in the corporate world who are committed to advancing their work and our field's reputation as critical business advisors that are not only invited to the decision-making table, but are required there. I'm your host, Tara McDonagh. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Communications Business Advisor. We're here in a new season. I'm back. And we're here in the fall. The fall into the winter is maybe the busiest time for communications teams. And I know I don't need to tell you this, but if you're listening, you're probably just getting a taste of what will be a very intense Q4 or calendar year Q4 anyway for you. And you're likely overwhelmed just thinking about it. And yet you also know deep down that you've got this because you've done it before and you will do it again and you will figure it out because that's what we do. But the execution for all of the things that everyone waited on all year long, but now they suddenly and frantically need to get it done and are making it your problem because they're going to be measured against it. They're now about to hit your inbox with those requests or Teams chat or whatever, and they're going to make it your problem or your team's problem if they haven't already. And then typically, benefit season is right around now. So there's that to focus in on. Your employees are probably really focused on that at least. And then employee engagement surveys, of course. You know that the IT team is about to get on you about Information Security Month in October, as if it's the only time of year that information security should matter. So let's just jam all the activity into 1 month that no one will actually pay attention to. And, that goes for every single month where some business areas that's the theme. So let's do all the things and make it the thing for the entire organization. I know we know this, right? Health and wellness, they tend to come around this time of year with HR wanting to remind people of their access to a dedicated phone line when they're stressed out that they could call, one that you could probably use right around now. Quarterly or monthly or whatever town hall meeting schedule you have, those are getting a little more intense this season. Financial results and metrics and whatnot are a big focus. And change tends to happen a lot in the fall and the winter with staffing decisions and budget decisions and whatnot. Pay close attention to that week before Thanksgiving in the US. That's when a lot of layoffs happen and a lot of restructuring happens as well, particularly if your fiscal year is the same as the calendar year. And then externally, the news cycle picks up, the trade show season commences, and of course, all of the usual communications about all of the things that we need to communicate about all of the time anyway, per usual, those are all continuing too. So with all of this activity, it can feel near impossible to take a step back and remember what we're doing it for, what the priorities actually are, why we exist at companies and as a field. And though they would like to think it's not because Joe from IT or Jody from HR needs to communicate about some new initiative that no one but their team cares about. You guys have the purview of what actually needs to be communicated with employees, and you're the best judge of that. So let me remind you. Allow me to remind you, if you will. You're here to advance business goals and protect the reputation of the organization. Period. You match the business goal with the audience needs and you connect them. Now, we do that through acting as a business advisor, using the lens of communications or the lens of the audience, some may say, to advise and then execute or manage a comms team through to execution. And with all of this activity, and especially as we navigate our misunderstood and oversimplified field with constant advocacy for what we actually do and why and how, it can be hard to see the growth path for our careers, right? It can also be hard to see why we might even want a growth path in this career at some times. Plenty of us get picked off along the way to join chief of staff roles because we're so good at seeing what matters, right? Many leave this field entirely because they're just exhausted by needing to forge their own path in this crazy field of ours. The job that can feel thankless at times. I won't deny that. But this field, it can also be so very rewarding to know that we caught something crucial that everyone else missed. To know that our voice at the table protected the company from creating a crisis that they could prevent because your voice was listened to. To know that we protected the audience from chaos and over-communication and tune-out, from exhaustion over volume of terrible attempts at communications that just did not hit the mark. Because what we do best is often never even communicated to a broad audience. But as I've said, sometimes we're the life of the party, and sometimes we're calling the cops. And it's not fun to be in that calling the cops role, and at times it can feel like we're the Debbie Downer, invited to bring everyone back to reality at the party. But make no mistake here, my friends, that's still necessary. You are necessary. And I know sometimes it can feel like the messenger is the one who's killed, us communicators, the voice of reason, the messenger. So in our thankless roles, where we either fight for a seat at the decision-making table or fight through constantly establishing that, yes, we do indeed belong there alongside the CFO or CMO or CHRO or whomever else is in that C-suite position, that, by the way, we deserve to be in a C-suite role as well. We have a hard time seeing sometimes what that path actually is for us in this career. We find that we have to find it ourselves and advocate for it through constantly wowing people at just how good we actually are. And they're so surprised by it. It's kind of like insulting. And they just underestimate us so often. I like to think of us as underdogs who are wildly impressive when we're given just a crack of a doorway to shine. So then the question remains, how can we normalize making this crack a little wider? How can we establish a career path for this field that is clear and lands us in that C-suite? Or at least much, much closer to it to start? How can we, as I've stated over and over, normalize the Chief Communications Officer? So that is what we're talking about this entire season in the Communications Business Advisor podcast. I'm doing something a little different. I'm talking with Chief Communications Officers throughout the field, different industries, and a few SVPs about what it's like to be in their role, about the struggles that they experience or see for our field, about how they got to where they are in their career, about what skills they needed to get to where they are. Because we need to have people to look toward, paths that communicators can follow. We all need people that we can learn from, whether they're peers in this field or those ahead of us. And we need to have some vision of what it might look like for us when we get to that place, where our roles are established as critical and necessary, and know what it is still on these leaders' minds even when they get there. Because we don't just figure it all out, right? There's always constant evolution and constant learning. So that said, you're going to hear from a series of Chief Communications Officers or SVPs in this field of ours, in a series that I'm calling The Path to the CCO. Or actually, it's The Path to the CCO Plus. The plus being SVPs, because not every area has a Chief Communications Officer, at least not yet. Again, we got to normalize it. I'm excited to share the voices and the minds of these fellow communications leaders in our field. Let's get some energy around this crazy, wild, often thankless, and yet crazy rewarding field of ours, and normalize that path to CCO. Our first interview hits in 2 weeks, but there's going to be a whole series all fall into the winter, so stay tuned. And in the meantime, keep advising, my friends. Keep advising. Oh, and before I go, those of you who are women in the field, you might have heard about this thing I've talked about before, Raise the Tide. Raise the Tide is a program for women in the communications field that are at that like emerging leader or leader level. So I call them like senior manager level all the way up to like chief communications officer level roles. And we fit you in the right container group. And it's a program that is total in its focus and comprehensive. So it's not just community, right? It's community, it's coaching, it's mentorship, it's professional development. It's all in one program because we are total humans and we need all of the things in order to advance in our careers as women, because we're a field that's dominated by the field in numbers, but not necessarily at leadership level. So this is my work, my effort to elevate our field and the women in it. So if you're interested in Raise the Tide and learning more about it, check out our new event we have coming up on September 19th. And it is going to be a Ask Me Anything session. I'm calling it the Raise the Tide Open House. And if you want an invite to the open house where you can come and ask questions of me and another group member or crew member from Raise the Tide, then come join us on September 19th. And there is a link to sign up that I will put in the show notes, or you can come over to LinkedIn and check it out. I've been talking about it a bit over there. If it's after September 19th, just reach out on our website and we'll figure out how to get you into the next Ask Me Anything session. I look forward to seeing you all there. And in the meantime, keep rising, keep advising. See you next time. If you're interested in working with me to advance your work and your team's reputation as critical business advisors, never order takers, check out TaraMcDonagh.com. Thanks for listening to the Communications Business Advisor podcast. If you found this episode helpful, please leave a rating or a review. It helps people find us, and we can't ignite a movement without sharing the message. See you next time, where we'll continue to do the work to elevate our field's reputation and elevate the careers of the people in it. I created Raise the Tide to help elevate our field and the women in it. It's part community, part coaching, part professional development, and part mentorship. It encompasses all of these things because it takes all of these things to rise in your career. I asked a few Raise the Tide crew members to share what their experiences have been like in the program, and here's what they had to say. What's one thing that's been surprising to you about Raise the Tide?
I honestly was surprised by how quickly I felt part of something really unique and special.
Something that surprised me about being in Raise the Tide is just how much I feel seen. My crew holds up a mirror for me and even helps me see myself in ways that I haven't before. It's extremely validating, and it's a pretty powerful experience.
I was really nervous at first about how would I gel with everybody else in the group, and would we really get to know each other, and would we really become close? It's amazing how suddenly they become your biggest group of cheerleaders and your biggest advocates and the ones pushing for you and rooting for you. And that was really surprising to me.
If you're interested in this program, head on over to TaraMcDonagh.com and complete the Raise the Tide form. A rising tide raises all ships, but we're not the ships. Together, we're the force of the tide, raising the ships for our entire industry.